remember, this is key. You got to keep people in fear. Do you understand? So in order to extract exorbitant rents and mortgages, this is where it all stems from. This is the cause of all the problems. And we all know things are based on cause and effect. Nothing's happening in a vacuum. So it's a chain reaction we see happening here. So you understand that these people would say, so you're telling me the vast majority of people would be laid off. Never thinking about the fact that there's this basic income that's going to insulate, cushion, and protect all those laid off workers. So none of them need to be in fear of being laid off. Working in any of those industries, the lending, it's just criminal industrial complex, the dubious warfare industrial complex, the social welfare industrial. Nobody has to fear that. But yet, you see, we're so trained, indoctrinated to think in such a tunnel, with such tunnel vision, in such a narrow way, in such a short-sighted way, that we don't really see that we don't need to worry about that if we could just do this one thing, just get the cat skin. Do you understand? I mean, sometimes I think that the only answer may be that we all need to become home builders. Really, that's it. Somehow you got to get your finger in the pie of being involved directly in building the houses. Okay, that's it. That they only answer everybody. I mean, but you see, again, if anybody's left out of the loop, it's just going to make the problem worse unless you get a lot of really well-intentioned people involved in that business that just get into it to provide affordable housing for the masses, to dry up desperate poverty, the homelessness, to bind the wound on the collective body of humanity where it's hemorrhaging. So bind it logically. Do you understand? So if I sound radical, I don't mean to. All I want to do is sound logical and reasonable. And I want us all to explain these things to other people, whatever their philosophy is, liberal, conservative, socialist, capitalist, whatever, Republican, Democrat, male, female, okay, whatever their faith or lack of faith is, it doesn't matter, okay, because remember, the people that are running us around, that have us by the short hairs of the neck, they don't give a crap what you are. They want you to believe that you should give a crap about who your neighbor is and what his beliefs are, and trying to blame him and point the finger. And you understand that the cause of the problem is but even though we all know from empirical evidence in recent history that it's like ping pong match. So one side gets the ball, the ball's in the other guy's court, and on, tennis match, right? And it just never changes for 4 years or 8 years. It's in one side, and so everybody's all happy and content, right? If you're on one side, one team, and then you're hating life if you're on the other side during that period, and then vice versa. It's just such madness they've got us to accept, and the tyranny they've got us to accept knows no bounds, and we are in a lot of trouble. Okay, and it is spreading like a cancer. And yes, I accept the blame that people are labeling California with, but place it on the right Californians, the people that are transplants here in the first place. Okay, I mean, why would Native Californians want to wreck it up? They want to be proud of their state. They don't want to wreck up the joint. I want affordable housing. I want the whole world could live in. Come and see. It's vast. Just fly over this state. It's huge, man. We could grow food for the entire freaking planet here. Do you understand? We could feed everybody on Earth with what we can grow in California. That's a fact. That's math. It's science. And everybody in the world could live in California. And I'd be down with that. As long as there's not traffic all up and, getting from one place to another wasn't impossible. And we can figure this stuff out. Okay? We can figure this stuff out. We can learn to live together as one big, fat, happy family. Just what God wants for us. What makes sense. What's logical. That is. It's what any good parent wants for their kids because they got that instinct from God. So what does God want for us? He wants us to be happy, to be satisfied, to be content, to live in safety and security with each other, at peace with each other, and of course to be free. And then when you have all those components, all those ingredients, you're inevitably going to find happiness. And God is the grantor. He's going to stamp, okay, you're hereby deemed worthy to be happy. But until we get that stamp of approval from him, we're going to keep struggling. It's going to be a real pain in the behind. And we're all going to battle our own demons and we're going to need God to help us on an individual level and on a collective level. We need God. There's no way around it. We have to admit it. Admit we've utterly failed. We've squandered the grace he gave us. Okay? And we've got to face the day of reckoning. The sooner the better. But remember, we're far down the line already. I mean, I don't know what kind of a sledgehammer God needs to hit this nation with before we damn well perk up and get it. And just understand what's happened here. How diabolical the dealings we've had are. How they've used crony capitalism to usher in people thinking they understand capitalism by really what is contrary and the opposite of true capitalism, which is supply and demand turned on its head. That if something is selling less and demand goes way down, rather than supply and demand principles being in effect true supply and demand principles, whereby the price goes down, okay, that's the way it works. As demand goes down, the price goes down, okay. People are trained to believe that, no, the price actually has to go up because they're selling less of it. Do you understand? So that's the kind of thinking they get us to accept when it comes to market manipulation and price fixing, all this kind of underhanded, crooked crap that's been going on in society. It's just corruption and fraud up one side and down the other. And one thing leading to another in this chain reaction. Everybody going into the survival mode and got to raise their prices and look after old number one. And of course you got to do that. We're being devoured here. We've got to devour each other in order to survive. You got to step on another guy's head. You know, this is just the rule of the day. So suck it up. Go with the flow. The path of least resistance. Become corrupt. Become one of them. I get it, man. I get how people fall into this trap. And we've got to stop it, man. We are in so much trouble. I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand. We need cost of living tax deflation. It's the only answer. Wages are certainly not going to ever catch up. The Labor Department has been deliberately remiss for decades and decades. People don't know a damn thing. People want to blame minimum wage workers for inflation. I'm thinking, oh my God, such the opposite is true. People don't understand anything about anything anymore. They really just don't get it, man. And it's as clear as the light of day for me. And yes, I'm frustrated about people not understanding. But all I can do is plead and beg and try. And really try to implore people. And you know, just please understand. I beg of you. Please see it as clear as the light of day, just like I see it. We've been taken. They've ushered in fascist policies. They've got us to believe it's okay that the government, cheerlead for the government and high real estate costs because they get more property taxes from people. And that's a good thing. Look at the jobs and the services. And you understand how they've done this thing? So they've framed true capitalism and the opposite. They've ushered in the opposite, not in order to maintain any form of capitalism, get rid of that crony capitalism eventually. And it's just going to be hardcore, fascist, communist, elitist politics. Okay, that's it. Where you've got, like China has, like a handful of uber powerful people, like the dynasty, right? The forevermore, and they control every facet of life. They control, and that's what they're doing, getting us to accept for decades now minimum wage falling below the cost of living, and nobody can deny that. There's not an economist on earth that I tell you, you'll all go to hell if you deny this. Okay, I promise you, because you know you're being intellectually dishonest. Minimum wage has sorely fallen behind the true cost of living. And remember, this is a two-way street, and I'm not just sitting here saying that the answer is always giving cost of living adjustments. I'm saying it's a two-way street. If the cost of living went down, fine, you give a wage reduction. I'm fine with that as long as the worth of your currency is going up faster than your pay is going down, you're still getting more prosperous. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm real. I'm serious. I want solutions. I know there are solutions. I know the easy solution to have prevented this. There's evil people that are ruling the show, running the roost. It's that simple. That's how they've done this. So do you understand? Minimum wage, if it really had been set correspondingly to the increase in the cost of living, which is currency debasement, as G. Edward Griffin points out, two peas in a pod is like a scale. They're attached at the hips. One goes up, the other goes down. One goes down, currency debasement happens by way of cost of living inflation. Okay? What came first, the chicken or the egg? We know what happened first. Your cost of living was manipulated upward. It wasn't from natural market forces like true capitalism, supply and demand, free market. No, it was forced artificially. It was manipulated. It's through collusion of special interest groups working together as cabals to do this because they have an interest. Okay, these are the ones that receive the rent you pay. Do you understand? They're like the landlords. They're like the owners, the recipients of the rents that you have to pay. So you're either in the ownership class or the rentership class. And the rentership class keeps on growing and growing in leaps and bounds. So people got to understand how this thing works. So if you did the math, you would find out that on average across America, minimum wage, if it had kept up with the true cost of living, the stuff you can't get away from, energy cost, housing cost, and food costs, clean water costs, just those things, that market basket of goods, very limited stuff. Not all the knickknacks, gadgets, luxury items. Okay, forget those, put those aside. You don't need those things. But if you just included those things in your calculation, you'd see that minimum wage would be over $40 an hour on average. And even if that was hyperbolic, even let's say, well, no, it would really be 20. Fine, it doesn't matter. The math can be done. This is something that can be calculated out. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make here. And the point is that it's far less than what it would be. And nobody with a shred of honesty or integrity can deny that fact, that inarguable, irrefutable, unequivocal fact. Okay? That's it. I'm just trying to make a point, folks. And let's show you how this whole thing happened and what it's going to take to extricate ourselves from the maws of these evildoers and wake up. The first thing is just admit it's an utter, total failure. I don't care if you're a good socialist. I don't care if you're a good capitalist. I don't care if you're a good Democrat. I don't care if you're a good Republican. I don't care if you're a good liberal or a good conservative, good man, good woman, good black, white, brown, good agnostic or Muslim or Jew or Christian or anything else. Okay, we've got to admit our failure. And if we're honest and our God is our witness, we've got to work here together as individuals and as a family of one race, one species of man to please God. If we're ever going to find any semblance of true happiness, we've got to do this thing. We've got to give a damn. This is where the love comes in. You're caring about your fellow man that has it harder. Okay, that's it, man. Don't be content and let your conscience be your guide. I'm not content. I mean, until I see everybody's got at least as much as I have, has got as much freedom and as much security as I have, I will never be happy to get any more freedom or security, prosperity. Okay? No. And that's how I'm measuring these things. This is the rising tide of freedom and prosperity and security I'm talking about here through sound economic policies. This is the demand. We need checks and balances. We, the people, need to demand oversight and checks and balances. That's it, man. And make sure that we're going to get our way because we are the government. We are the only legitimate government at the end of the day. All these politicos, they're all working for us. And they're doing an abysmal job. And you know and how they protect themselves, they insulate themselves from the havoc they are wreaking on the public. Okay, by giving themselves raises. They vote themselves a raise. How absurd is that? And you're going to complain about unions. At least they have a real vote where there's other, people involved that are actually in the union that, hey, they say, you know what, maybe this is not such a good idea because we're going to push the envelope here and we're going to end up, the president's going to remember Reagan with the air traffic controllers. So that union is no more, right? And we've seen that happen over and over. So yeah, I mean, when they take a vote at a union, okay, they could end up pushing the envelope too far. They know that, and lose their behinds, lose their battle. So they walk that tightrope. They try to be diplomatic and all that crap. But look at these people, these politicos that we're paying out of our money. Because remember, even if you pay very little taxes, okay, because you make very little money, okay, or you buy very little, then it's still your money. It goes into the kitty. Look up that term, the treasury, right? And then my voice is equally loud with everybody else's. Nobody else has a right in America to have any louder voice because they pay more money. Do you understand?